film analysis, we will be taking a look at the film The Night of the Hunter. This movie was directed by Charles Laughton, along with all the cinematography done by Stanley Cortez. Throughout this film, director Laughton and cinematographer Cortez worked hand in hand to correctly portray the idea of familiar image throughout the film. Before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a look at the definition of familiar image from the textbook Looking at Movies. Familiar image is any image that a director periodically repeats in a movie to help stabilize its narrative. We see the character John to be in the spotlight of the most prominent familiar image of the film. By using these two repeated scenes or emotions, it helps to understand John's distress and anger towards his father and preacher. All of these amazing camera shots and ideas couldn't be possible if it wasn't for Stanley Cortez's ability to manipulate the camera. Before coming into filmmaking, Stanley Cortez was only designing sets, nothing to do with the camera. A quote from Robert Ebert describes it all as he says, "The shot of Winters at the bottom of the river is one of the most remarkable images in the movie." And he goes on to quote Orson Welles saying, "Cortez always has chosen to shoot weird things. This is no different as the way familiar image is made aware throughout the film." While on the topic of Orson Welles and Stanley Cortez, let's take a look at the similarities of cinematography in another film we watched, Citizen Kane, and The Night of the Hunter. Both films resemble intense use of lighting and camera angles to evoke further depth into the film. These angles and lighting are used by Toland and Cortez to let the audience know important parts and who is evil and good, essentially. To further understand Cortez and his camera abilities, I am going to refer to an LA Times article saying, "Many critics have said the film is one of the most remarkably photographed of all time." While examining The Night of the Hunter, it's also important to notice the use of lighting by Cortez and Laughton. What is clear throughout the film is good versus evil, and setting and theme were all going to be manipulated by light and shadows. Light was used to describe all types of scenes, but here are some examples. The first being Willa and the light shining on her to show innocence and the turn her life is soon going to take. A more notable and familiar scene is going to be how Preacher is mostly in shadows. This resembles the darkness and despair he has casted on others' lives in search for the hidden fortune. This is also an example of familiar image, while in turn using lighting to familiarize it. Preacher is consistently in darkness to help the narrative understand what kind of character he is.